Hey, Michael here, and welcome to this video all about being creative at home using the LOKLiK Crafter that LOKLiK very kindly sent me. Now, I should first state that I'm not the most crafty person in the world. I made a pasta collage at school when I was 8 and then had to retire due to creative burnout, but this machine is designed to be user-friendly. So let's see if a novice like me can make some half-decent home craft designs all by myself. So in the box, LOKLiK kindly provided some materials to get me started. These are permanent adhesive vinyls made by LOKLiK and are in the matte finish, but you can also get them in a glossy finish and even a cool mirrored metallic finish, as well as other types of materials like card paper and heat transfer paper for applying designs to clothing. I also have the transfer tape to apply the designs to whatever object I want to, and I'm pretty sure the machine can also use materials from other companies, not just LOKLiK, but I'll put the links for the LOKLiK products down in the description. We then have these color matching accessories for when you're weeding out your cuts, as well as these vinyl scrapers. They feel really high quality and they're actually very handy, as you will see later in the video. We then have the cutting mats. This is the multi-pack bundle. Each cutting mat has a different amount of stickiness. Its adhesive is strong enough to keep the materials in place, but they also peel off materials easily without any tears. And it comes with this scraper in the bundle, so you can easily clear up any leftover materials. So then we have the box itself. This is what you would get if you actually purchased the LOKLiK Crafter. You get a free cutting mat with the standard grip strength, as well as some free heat transfer vinyl paper. Then quickly moving the crafter, I just want to show you the power adapter. The cable is pretty long at 2 meters or 6.6 feet, so you can have the crafter up on a desk, or in my case, a standing desk. Then perhaps the most important accessories, the cutting blades with their respective blade housing holders. The red blades are for fine point cutting, and then the blue are deep pointed blades. So depending on what materials you're cutting, you're all covered. We then have the drawing pen that the machine can also use to create custom artwork, and it has different tips at each end so you can get the style you want just right. And finally, the USB cable to connect with your computer. It is USB-A, but you can also connect via Bluetooth, which I think most people will do anyway. And then finally, we have the crafter machine itself. And this is where I just want to take a moment to give a compliment to the design team here, who have created something that usually in this product category of printers and cutters or whatever it may be, usually they look so ugly. You just want to hide them away in your office, but this design looks absolutely brilliant. The bold choice of color, a nice light blue, almost verging on turquoise, is a great choice. It really pops and creates a fun vibe, which is what this machine should be about. This is meant for creating and having fun, and those little design details around the cutter, like this orange pull tab to open the crafter, are brilliant touches, and it just makes me feel like I could have this in my home, out in the open, anywhere around the house, without it being an embarrassing eyesore, which is a nice little extra reason to consider buying one of these. On the right side, we have some control buttons, nicely laid out. They are soft touch clicky buttons that also have backlit lighting, which is a nice touch. On the opposite side, LOKLiK have built in a convenient tool holder. We also have some built-in storage at the bottom here, which again is a nice touch. Then we have the roll holder, which will take in your materials and move them around as the machine is cutting. And finally, the tool holder, which is where your blades go. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to try out the fine blade tool. The tool holder lock is nice and stiff, so you feel that it's properly locked in place. Plug in the power and turn the machine on. I'm then going to open LOKLiK's free to install Idea Studio, which is available on Mac, Windows, iOS and Android. We have the canvas here where you can create designs and make all your fine adjustments, but I'm going to be a coward and head straight into the pre-designs. LOKLiK's library has thousands of designs to choose from, and they're all categorized and searchable. Life is not hard, guys, please remember that. And it's true, it isn't. With all of these pre-designs, I can just pop my cherry right into the canvas, make sure it's centered. I'm using the arrow in the middle as it matches the cutting board arrow that will go into the cutting machine, and then adjust the size. Then we go over to the task menu, and as you can see, there's no device connected, so we can go down into the Bluetooth section, and this is what I like. You don't have to dive into your laptop system settings, you can do it right in the app. And there we go, connected. So then all the different shapes and layers of the cherry are at the top here. I'm just going to go ahead and tick them all so they all get cut. Then select the brand of paper. If you want to use other brands' materials, you can. But what's nice about using LOKLiK's own materials, it automatically adjusts the force and speed of the cut for that specific material, which is really handy. So now I'm going to load my paper. I don't want to waste it, so I just cut it to the size needed in quite a non-elegant fashion, and then apply it, shiny side down, to the cutting board, to the same place that I moved the cherry to on the canvas. I use the provided tools to make sure everything is flattened out, and then hit the load button so the paper is taken in, then start the cutting process. And in less than 30 seconds, the cut was completed. I then take the paper out and use the tools to separate the sheet, and it just peels off. I then weed out the little details and grab my transfer paper. Cut to the correct size in an even more disgusting manner than last time, separate the transparent sheet and line it up on the cherry, and again make sure it's all flattened out. I then began to peel it off, but it didn't come off properly first time, so I applied a little more pressure and then it all came off perfectly. I then panicked, realized that I hadn't planned what I was going to apply this to, so I just put it on the LOKLiK Crafter, and in one motion it came off perfectly, and I indeed popped my cherry. It looked great and was actually a very easy and satisfying process. So at this point, I kind of realized I could print anything. The process was really easy, so I thought, what do I actually want to make? What kind of design would be cool to make a cutout of? And I've really loved the band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, ever since I was a kid, and they have a really cool logo. It's pretty famous and you might recognize it, and all the band members have it tattooed on their wrist, so I thought it would be cool to make a cutout logo for my laptop. And I'd really love to play some Red Hot Chili Peppers music over the next part of the video, but due to my inability to pay a massive licensing fee, I'm instead just gonna make it play wherever you are by saying, Alexa, play Red Hot Chili Peppers. Hey Google, play Red Hot Chili Peppers. Hey Siri, play Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I was interested to see if I could just drag the Chili Peppers logo off of Google and straight into the software, and it turns out you can, but you need it to be an SVG file. So I did a search, and my first attempt at loading it didn't display properly with the layers in the taskbar, nothing showed up, but it turns out the software has this import process where it can make a kind of sketch of the image onto the canvas, which allows it to show up in the task menu. I then go through the same process with the paper. I'm a bit annoyed I didn't ask for red paper to match the real logo, so orange will have to do. I go through the process of applying the paper again, but as I finish, do you see the mistake I've made? We'll get to that. One thing I noticed about the cutting process this time was just how quiet the machine made its cuts and movements. I was expecting it to make a fairly significant mechanical noise, but it's very subtle and you can barely hear it if you're on the other side of the room. Stripping off the sheet, the logo looked fantastic, and then I immediately made my second mistake. Do you see it? I then applied the vinyl to my MacBook and it transferred perfectly, but my first mistake, I'd forgotten to weed out the gaps in the letters, in the D's and in the P's, so I then had to painstakingly use the sharp weeding tool and very delicately weed out the cuts, not cutting on a board, but directly onto my beautiful aluminium MacBook Pro shell. It went fine, I was kind of sweating, and I will not be making that mistake again. Then I noticed my second mistake, bubbles. The vinyl wasn't flat, and in the instant replay, we see here my excitement and impatience getting the better of me. I did not flatten out the surface properly before loading, so yeah. Take your time, people. My attention then turned to the cookie jar, as it always does, and as I'm filming in my friend's house, I thought I'd make her a custom sign, and for that, I thought I'd dive into Canva, which I love using for other little projects, and soon found something I liked, did a quick name drop, and then saved it as an SVG file, placed it into the LOKLiK software, made sure to flatten out everything properly this time, and hit print. And well, it worked like a charm, and I was pretty happy with how the result looked this time. I was genuinely really pleased with how this turned out, and I can only imagine the more creative things other users could do with this machine. A wonderful addition to the kitchen. And finally, as it's Chinese New Year and LOKLiK is a Chinese company, I thought I'd add a little fire to this candle with a more complex cutout this time. After adding a very witty, original, self-thought slogan, I added this cool dragon to the design, which has lots of little details all over the place, and hit print. This time, the cut took well over 3 minutes due to the complexity of the design, and my weeding skills were, how should I put this, abysmal. But I got there in the end and was happy with my artistry, another wonderful addition to the household. It was at this point I thought I should stop in fear I would vinyl over every object in the house. It was a really fun experience, and I could also see this fitting in very well in a family home. I think children as well as adults would really enjoy making their own designs, and if you purchase the LOKLiK heat press, you can transfer your creations onto clothing as well, which could be a really nice hobby or even side business. I also forgot in all my excitement to test out the pen that is included in the box. It can draw out custom or preloaded designs, and the crafter can then cut them out in the same process. Pretty cool. I'll put a link to the LOKLiK Crafter down below, and a like on this video would mean the world to me, and a sub to the channel even more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.